If you're tuning in to see more sports and less Levine tonight, we're going to have more sports and less Levine. Les is actually taking some time off to focus on his health. He watched the Browns last night, thrilled for the franchise and the city. Plans to watch the Buckeyes tonight as well. We'll be keeping Les's chair warm until he's ready to rejoin us. Bud Shaw and Stephen Means covering the Buckeyes in Miami at the national championship game are straight ahead on more sports and less Levine. Good Monday to you. Hope your week is off to a great start. How could it not be? Welcome to more sports and Les Levine. Dave Bacon filling in for Les Levine. The Buckeyes are out in Miami trying to make it a clean sweep for Ohio football. Last night, how about those Browns, huh? To paraphrase Jerry Jones, the Browns got after it early, built a 28-0 lead, and then defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 48-37, knocking the Steelers out of the playoffs, advancing to the divisional round of the playoffs where they will face the defending Super Bowl champion and top-seeded Kansas City Chiefs. Let's welcome in Bud Shaw. Bud, just a quick reaction. There was very little doubt after the first quarter there with that 28-0 lead. The Browns were going to get that done last night.
Yeah, well, first, Dave, I think you should take a bow. You picked the Browns. When we had our discussion on Friday, I said that if I had to, I would pick the Steelers in a close game, but that I could see a Browns win. I didn't think the Steelers had been a very good team over the last 6-7 weeks of the year. Roethlisberger, to me, looks like a guy who doesn't want to take any hits, is willing to get rid of the ball, even if it means throwing it 4 yards downfield on 3rd and 7. So I wasn't shocked that the Browns won. I certainly was shocked the way it happened, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean the turnovers just kept coming, and I thought that was a key, even more so than running the football, is that defense was able to turn the ball over, and when they are able to do that because of the running game and what they can do, it's a very dangerous team, the Browns.
Yeah, well, Dave, I think one of the things we talked about was if the Browns got off to a good start, because that would mean that they didn't fall behind in the game, didn't have to start throwing the ball more often than they wanted to. And I think that played out pretty well. I mean, no one could have predicted how it started, right? I mean, that was the most disastrous start for a team on the first snap of a game since Todd Philcox dropped back in Seattle at the game after Bernie Kosar was let go by Bill Belichick. That's how long ago it was.
The other thing about it is it was a total team effort. You got to talk to Baker Mayfield after the game, and you know there were so many different guys that stepped up and did well. It's an impressive win for the team, a team win for the Browns in that playoff win.
So many different guys, and that's just the offensive line, right? I mean, look at the guys that stepped in on the offensive line for this team against, what we've all thought with Cam Hayward and T.J. Watt was a pretty dominant defensive front for the Steelers. I mean, the Browns look like a team. I don't know if this is going to play out in the future of the NFL with Players Association negotiating, virtual days into every practice week, but certainly the Browns looked like the team was fresh-legged and playing a lot harder than the Steelers were for whatever reason.
Yeah, and we alluded to it. Let's take a listen as Baker Mayfield talks just about everybody that had a hand in winning that playoff game yesterday.
It means a lot for our guys to step up. We lost, a few guys. Obviously, missing Joel sucks, but Michael Dunn stepped up in a huge way, and then Jack goes down. Kendall Lamb steps up in a huge way, and then Michael ends up going down. And Blake, who I just met tonight, ends up stepping up in a huge way. So, I mean, the resilience and the next man up mentality that we've been talking about the whole season, and for some of these guys that weren't even here while we were talking about it, I mean, it permeates through the whole team. And for us to come out like that, for the defense to play like that, and us to play complementary football and get a great start, it just means so much.
That's Baker Mayfield last night. Hi, I'm Blake. I'll be your left guard. Don't worry, Mr. Mayfield. I'll do anything you need.
When we talk about the kind of the I don't want to call it the mythology, but when people 20 years from now look back at this win, the first one, in 18 years or more than that, over 20, 25 years, they're going to remember the fact that Baker Mayfield described one of his linemen as Blake, who I just met tonight. And they're going to remember that the head coach was in his basement at home. It's a bizarre set of circumstances, and one that these guys really should be commended for being able to win this game on the road, facing all the challenges that they did.
Without question, and the thing that's going to get overlooked as time passes is they had one practice.
Yeah.
So you had one practice on the field and a walkthrough. So that's impressive in and of itself. The other thing is Kevin Stefanski addressed the media today, and Kevin Stefanski couldn't have said enough nice things about the way the game was called by Alex Van Pelt. Let's listen to Kevin Stefanski and his assessment of the play calling.
Yeah, Alex was absolutely outstanding last night. I'm so thrilled for him in Pittsburgh, which that means a little bit extra to him, being the Pitt Panther legend that he is. So he just was dialing him up. Great call after a great call, and the guys were executing. So not surprised, but really proud of him.
Thanks. Thank you, Scott. Mary Kay Cabot, go to you.
Yeah, Coach, you just said that you can't taste anything. So obviously you did end up having some COVID symptoms. So can you just kind of give us a little bit of an idea of what that experience has been like for you and what the outlook is for you getting back with your football team?
Yeah, I'm good, Mary Kay. Very, very mild symptoms. So I should be returning, sounds like Thursday.
And that's Kevin Stefanski. If all things stay on progress, he will be back as the head coach, doing his job with his guys Thursday. Let's bring Bud Shaw back in. And Bud, the other thing is it looks like Denzel Ward, Kevin Johnson, Joel Bitonio, the Browns will be very close to full strength. Are the reports coming out of Berea after they tested after the game? It looks like everybody is on track to get somewhere near full strength.
Yeah, Dave, the two guys that you really have to feel happy for, not that you don't feel happy for a lot more than two, is, Kevin Stefanski works as hard as he does this year against really stacked odds in dealing with COVID as a first-time head coach. He gets to the playoffs and then doesn't even get to leave his basement for the first playoff game. So the fact that they won should put him, if everything goes well, put him on the sideline for a playoff game. And that's a good and just reward for the season he's had. And the other guy is obviously Bitonio, a guy who's been through what he's been through in this town and then gets to the playoffs and isn't able to play. So if those guys can get back for this game and the other guys that you mentioned are back, there's no reason why this team can't go in there and I don't want to say shock the world, but certainly they have the offensive firepower to match points with a team like Kansas City. And that's really what you need against Kansas City, as opposed to maybe some other opponents.
Yeah, you're not going to shut that offense down. Nobody has all season. Nobody will. The thing that becomes a challenge is they haven't turned the ball over a whole lot, and this defense will need to create turnovers. I'm not expecting them to get 5, but they got to win the turnover battle if they want to have a chance.
Absolutely. But Roethlisberger ends up throwing for 500 yards. I mean, I know that looks really bad on a defense, but it's also a lot of those yards were, I don't want to say conceded quite, but they certainly played a lot different kind of defense once they were up 28-0. So I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock into that. Certainly it's going to be a big challenge dealing with Kelsey and Mahomes. But who knows, I mean, this Kansas City team lost to the Raiders early in the season in one of those games that, was fairly high scoring. So sometimes teams that sit out a week don't always come back ready to play right off the bat in their first playoff game. So the Browns are not, I know they're probably a touchdown underdog
close to 10 points. Yeah,
close to 10.
9.5, 10. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big number, but right now I would take the underdog if that was the line, and I don't bet. I want people to know that.
The flip side of it is when you look at all the passing yards that you mentioned, they were playing not to give up the deep ball. Don't
Absolutely.
get beat deep. And that, you know what? They should have done that. If they want to have 700 yards and lose by 11 points, we'll give them 700 yards.
Yeah, and if Ward is back, that's going to help strengthen that. There were certainly some soft spots in that secondary last night, and Roethlisberger kept going after him. But all in all, I mean, when you can go into a Pittsburgh and play the way they did with their practice weeks being disrupted for basically 2 weeks, let alone one, I think that says a lot. And the fact that they play like that with their head coach at home in a basement tells you that, he's solidified a lot of good principles on that team that were able to still show themselves in his absence.
And the final thing we'll do on this segment before we go to a break, keep in mind, they're down 3-4. They put in their last offensive lineman. Bill Callahan, their offensive line coach, was out. His assistant was out. They were like on the third offensive line coach to go along with the 7th and 8th offensive lineman, and they still were able to put 48 points on the board.
Yeah, and people shouldn't. I mean, I know those guys are coaches; they don't play, but Bill Callahan's a terrific offensive line coach, and I think one of the big reasons why this team has been as successful as it's been this year. So that's not a small loss at all.
But Sean and I have to take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll talk more Browns. We'll hear how the Browns are feeling the vibe from the city of Cleveland as the excitement builds. They're on to the divisional round. The Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champs, are waiting. More sports and Les Levine will be right back. Stay with us.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Lesmerises, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
Tri-C is here for you. Now more than ever, you need a post-secondary education. So I encourage you to start your journey here at Tri-C. The majority of fall classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your four-year plans have changed, Tri-C is where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, partners in education, where stars shine. More sports, and Les Levine continues. Dave Bacon filling in for Les Levine. The Browns, well, a huge playoff win against Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. They returned home at 3 a.m., and the players were a little shocked and excited to see a pretty good-sized group waiting for them at the airport.
Yeah, there were a good-sized group of Browns fans outside the fence as we landed.
Well, I mean, what was that? I mean, that's got to be kind of fun. I mean, I know it probably wasn't huge, but just what was the celebration like? You know, FaceTiming the coach in the locker room, and just, you know, what was it like?
Extremely exciting times. I mean, we know, you know, what Browns fans have been through, and we can feel the excitement of the entire city. And then the guys in the locker room, just extremely excited to continue to play football and continue to be alive. And continue to push forward. And this has been a great year for the Cleveland Browns, and we have more work to do. So it's just a really exciting time, and we're looking forward to getting even more guys back to be in that locker room with us.
J.C. Tretter, the Browns center, talking about coming home and seeing a couple thousand people at the airport at 3 a.m. And Bud, there's a generation of Browns fans that don't realize this city gets crazy when their football team is this good at this time of year.
Yeah, you know, Dave, I think I've told you this before, and so I apologize for repeating myself to others if they've heard it. But when I got here in 1991, it would have been Bill Belichick's first year as head coach, I believe, right? And or maybe they were finishing up the season before Belichick. I can't remember. I just know I got to know Tony Grossi really early in my stay here, and he and I would talk about football because I used to cover the Eagles when Vermeil was there and took them to the Super Bowl, and we knew each other a little bit from that. And he said to me, "You won't believe what this town is like when the Browns are good. You wait till you see it." And I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, I that should be pretty soon, right? You know, I mean, '94 they went 11-5. I thought, yeah. And I'm sure I'm going to find out what he's talking about here any day. And here we are in 2021, and I'm finally seeing what he's talking about. You know, the sad thing, obviously, is that the fans can't be here in numbers for this season, or couldn't be here in numbers because of COVID. But in my neighborhood here on the near west side of Cleveland, we had fireworks going off when that game ended, and people running out into the street for a divisional playoff win. So can you imagine if they would get to the Super Bowl?
Well, now it's just 2 wins away. We got a phone call. Let's welcome in Dan from Hubbard. Dan, appreciate the call. What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, the Browns, of course, and then the Buckeyes.
All right,
Good
let's
evening.
go.
How you doing? Hi, Bud.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, I have a question. In the third quarter yesterday, did you start to get the little nervous stomach that it was Marty Ball all over again?
a little bit. I was just like, oh, don't let them score that quickly. Was kind of the.
I mean, you know, when they went down and scored that quick, I'm thinking, oh, they're letting them.
Yeah.
You know, here we go with the Marty Ball, and then Chubb made that run, which really that saved us, that touchdown.
Yep.
Because the momentum had definitely swung, and I was so glad to see that they scored, but that was a monumental thing right there. And do you think that I just looked at him sitting on the bench last night, slumped over? I think we've seen the last of Roethlisberger.
Maybe. Good.
Yeah, I mean, early about 5 weeks ago or so, Dan, he talked on the topic and said he was coming back for 2021. It was at a time when I'm not sure the people in the organization or the fan base were happy to hear that. You know, I mean, they weren't doing anything offensively. I mean, clearly his game has changed. He, like I said to Dave early in the show, he to me looks like he'll do anything to avoid any kind of contact. So I don't know how happy they are about that because it's a big number on their cap, but certainly until they have a better option, they'd probably welcome it.
Well, they don't have an option. They have not drafted anybody to. follow on the line.
They will probably
Now-
start. They'll probably start looking at that, looking at some of the other guys that that you might be able to come in and develop. What about your Buckeyes question, Dan?
Well, what do you think the odds are tonight? What do you think we got a shot? I want both your opinions on that.
Go ahead, Bud.
I'd like to say we do, but
Yeah, I do. The Clemson game convinced me. Prior to that, I had seen them against Indiana. I'd seen them against Northwestern, and I wasn't that impressed. I just thought, well, when they get up against really good, top-level competition, we're going to see the flaws. In fact, I didn't think Justin Fields was playing great in a couple of those games when he played against better teams. Clearly, I think that changed against Clemson, and I have to like their chances tonight.
I think
I'm worried.
Dan, the one thing in talking to beat reporters for Alabama, the one thing that I think is going to be a key, they need the Buckeyes' defensive front they don't have to sack Mac Jones. They have to pressure him and move him. He hasn't been pressured all season, and there's some concern that if you make him move and make him throw on the run and just don't let him get comfortable, you have a chance to disrupt that offense, which is really, really good.
Well, if they don't make him move, they'll pick them apart with our defensive back.
Yep,
This
absolutely.
has not been a stellar year for DBs, including Sean Wade. And I don't care what anybody says. Sean Wade is. Everybody said he's not. He has to measure up. Well, I just don't think he's that great. But excuse me. How hurt is Fields? What do you think he's going to be? 75, 80%? Because he took a shot. From the shot he took in the Clemson game.
He's looking like he is a little bit better than he was during the game when he was having trouble getting off of the exercise bike. Dan, we're going to check in. Stephen Means is...
Okay, take care.
Yeah, we're going to check in with Stephen Means, who is down in Miami to cover that game. That'll be later in the show. Yeah, we'll let Bud take the last 15 minutes or so of the show off.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Let's focus attention back to the Browns real quick, Bud. When you look at that offense that they're about to go against is a really, really good offense. Patrick Mahomes is a whole different set of problems than Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, where Roethlisberger is going to be. I mean, even in his the height of his quarterback play when he was really good, he was the guy who stepped up in the pocket, was able to slough off a pass rusher and make a big play. With Mahomes, you don't know where he's going to be. I mean, he's as likely to do that as he is to run all the way out to the right and throw back to the left and throw sidearm. And I mean, he's the most creative guy I've seen at that position in a long, long time. And he now believes that, he can make great plays out of, really high risk situations. So that it makes him dangerous. And it's really going to be a tough challenge for these guys. But I really like the way they're playing. Dave, one thing we talked about last Friday when we talked, and I said I don't know how much, weight to give it, is that Baker Mayfield's attitude about going in and playing these kinds of games.
Yep.
I think that really gives these guys a chance. And this is Mahomes and Mayfield, I believe, ran up about 10,000 yards in a game they played against each other in college. So I'm sure Mayfield's looking forward to to matching up, even though quarterbacks always say, well, we're playing against the other team's defense. We're not playing against the other quarterback. You can bet he's got this one, in his crosshairs.
Yeah, without question. Type of guy that it's going to be a challenge because Mahomes is, MVP candidate, is a guy that has won a Super Bowl. He's got the things that Baker Mayfield wants.
Sure. Absolutely.
And we've already talked about that would be an extra motivation. Having said that, he played really well last night. That might have even been overlooked somewhat. I thought when he missed where he needed to. He didn't make any silly decisions. There were times where that line broke down, as you would expect playing with your 7th and 8th offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And he just did a really nice job. You can even see the poise in the way he handled that last night as opposed to the way he was last year and even earlier this year.
Yeah, if they were going into this game with the great running tandem of Chubb and Hunt, and Mayfield was just so coming off games where he fumbled or threw interceptions, you wouldn't give them much of a chance at all. But the fact that he's protecting the ball, and I realize he had some fumbles a few weeks back, but from an interception standpoint, what's he thrown? One in the last 6 or 7 or more games. So that's the kind of football they're going to have to play out there to match Kansas City, and I think they're capable of it.
Well, they put up 48 on the board. 48 might be enough. Might not be enough, but it might be enough.
Might be enough to win by 1.
Bud and I are going to take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, we'll focus in more on the Kansas City Chiefs, the team the Browns play to get to the AFC Championship game. Browns just 2 wins away from a spot in the Super Bowl. How about that, Cleveland? More sports and Les Levine will be right back. Stay with us.
Shelley, our garage floor is just awful.
I know. We really need Nature Stone.
Cracks, uneven concrete, it's slippery.
I keep telling you, we need Nature Stone.
Coach, only Nature Stone solves all those problems. That's why it comes with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
And Nature Stone is absolutely beautiful and so easy to clean.
Schedule today at naturestone.com and get up to half your garage floor free. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Herb, Nature Stone fixed every problem in our garage.
I told you.
It's not just a floor.
Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
More sports, and Les Levine continues. Dave Bacon filling in for Les Levine tonight. Browns getting ready to face the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Opening line between 9.5, 10 points. Browns will definitely be underdogs as they have to travel to Arrowhead Stadium to take on the defending Super Bowl Chiefs.
Respectfully, I don't really concern myself with the outside and what they think about our football team and our chances. We got plenty to motivate us and having the opportunity to compete week in and week out. So we'll just keep the focus on us, the focus on our opponent, and really ignore all the other noise.
Thanks, Steve. Nate Ulrich has our next question.
Kevin, you're so even-keeled and calm, but did you have emotion when you were watching the game when the snap went over his head to begin? Did you yell? I mean, what was that like?
You know, the funny part about that is I'm in the basement isolating from my family, and I guess my feed, for whatever reason, I must have hit pause or something, was about 45 seconds behind. So I heard my kids going crazy upstairs. So I had an inkling something good was going to happen on that first play.
On pause, so you knew the good things were ahead with the first play. Let's welcome back in Bud Shaw. But important to note, the Browns will be getting people back as the week goes on. That's going to be huge because of the challenge that the Kansas City Chiefs present.
Yeah, Dave, and one of the things I wanted to ask you, what your opinion is there's an old adage in the NFL that home field is worth like a field goal, right? If teams were evenly matched, but one was playing at home, they'd usually be installed as a 2 or 3 point favorite. Do you think that's the case anymore with crowds being limited?
No, in matter of fact, it was kind of interesting. I had heard Kevin Stefanski talking last week, and he said the road teams actually won had a higher winning percentage than the home teams this year. And I think that's some of it. That's some of it.
Yeah, it might be a small sample size, but I don't think so. I mean, I think if this were the norm for a couple of years, we would see, a larger sample size that would back that up. I mean, it's another thing. In some ways, you used to wonder if young teams, especially ones that hadn't been in the playoffs before, would be able to handle going into a place like Pittsburgh or Kansas City. I don't know if you've ever been out there, Dave. That's a fantastic place to watch a football game. It's just really great crowds. It's really a great setting for football, and it may not be that. I wonder if it even crosses the mind of these guys.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I think it's certainly this time, it plays to the Browns' benefit because they're not going to have, that many screaming fans. Now, there's probably more that will be there at Kansas City than were at Pittsburgh, where it was friends and family only. But it's not going to be the 70,000 where, that's like a college atmosphere on, it's like going into a college town.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that there's, I'm going to go with momentum counting in the playoffs more right now, because I really believe it does. We've seen wild card teams before get in and they happen to be playing well. And, some of them have gone on deeper than they might have if their season had developed differently. I like their chances. Maybe I'm overreacting to how great of a start it was in Pittsburgh for the Browns. But I think they have a chance to catch Kansas City in maybe that same mode where they had a week off. They didn't really have to win the last game of the season. Didn't matter. And now they have to come in and be ready to hit 100 miles an hour as soon as, the first snap is done. I think the Browns can get ahead again. And once they get ahead with those two guys in the backfield, wow.
Yep. And, there's some confidence that's building as you win one of those. You
Absolutely.
see. And I'm told the Chiefs can have 16,000 at Arrowhead, so it is significantly
it's
bigger.
Significantly more than what Pittsburgh had for sure. But certainly not walking into a 65,000 seat stadium.
Now, having said that, it will sound loud with those 16,000. You can be sure. Let's welcome in Dick from Dayton on the phone. Dick, thanks for the call. What's on your mind tonight, Dick? We only have a couple minutes here.
Dave, I just wanted to say, Steven Kosfonski and that team this year, being from up there, being the kid, following the Browns on Channel 7, Ken Coleman, and listen to Gibb, Nev, Casey, and Jimmy Donovan. I just never, it's a dream to come true to what they've done. With LeBron 2016, 4 years later, I think the Browns will give the Chiefs a fit. And it's just so surprising how the momentum, Dave, I'm so glad they beat the Steelers,
Yeah, without question. It's been a long time since they beat them in their place. And in the playoffs makes it even that much better. It was kind of interesting. All of the old players and some of the season ticket holders, they put together a video for the players. It was really well done, and it was quite poignant. And I think the players, they reacted. You hear the way they talk, and it does mean something to the Browns now.
Yeah, it does. And Dave, I've always been one. I write the papers and stuff, but I've always loved. It's a legend. I think the Browns announcers back from the 60s, 80s, and 90s now are legends, going back to Gibb, Nev, Casey, and Jimmy Donovan and them. It doesn't get any better, Dave.
Yep, Dick, appreciate the phone call. Thanks very much, Dick in Dayton. And, Gibb Shanley, a guy that I had the opportunity to work for, and great guy, and learned a lot about NFL football from him. Bud, when you look at this, there are some things that are concerns. Travis Kelce, Cleveland Heights guy, best tight end in the NFL. I think, I might get a little bit of an argument, not much. Certainly one of the best 2 or 3. He's going to be a problem. All tight ends have given the Browns problem. Ebron was a problem. Kelce does not drop passes normally. Tyreek Hill, another problem to go along with Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, what's impressed me about Kelce is not only the fact that he's got great hands, but he is the guy who seems to be on a kind of one of those elastic cords with Mahomes. When Mahomes rolls right, and he needs a receiver to come with him, Kelsey's the guy he's throwing to on the sideline. When he steps up in the pocket, Kelsey's the guy in the middle of the field, setting up and blocking off the defender behind him. And his, the balls that Mahomes throws are just so unconventional at times. And I'm sure by now, Kelsey's so used to it. But, those passes are being delivered from all sorts of arm angles. And if a receiver could ever justify dropping a few here and there, it might be passes that they don't expect Holmes to throw or at the velocity that he might be coming with. So I've been so impressed with Kelsey. I don't think there's any doubt. I would argue with anybody that he's the best tight end in football.
When you look at the defense, there are some things that, and I'm talking about the Chiefs' defense. There are some things that, again, look like the Browns might be able to use to their advantage. I won't say beat them up on, but there are some things that the Browns do well that the Chiefs don't do well.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, I don't think that was a small thing that we saw Kareem Hunt have the kind of game that he had.
And there's what I'm talking about. They're 21st in the league against the run. So
yeah, and this guy really, listen, he made his own bet in Kansas City. I don't know that he has great resentment toward the organization for letting him go after what happened and everything. But every guy that goes back and plays against a team that they used to play for, whether they left on the best terms or not, really, really wants the ball and wants to show all his old buddies, that he's fine and has flourished. And I think I don't know that I've seen him run as hard as he ran last night.
Yeah, again, that's a local guy that kind of grew up, by his own admission, grew up following the Browns. So let's take a look at recipes. What do the Browns need to do if they're going to come away with another win and move to one win away from getting to the Super Bowl?
Well, obviously the defense, I think, has to hold up a little bit in the beginning of the game and not get blitzed with touchdowns, right? And that goes hand in hand with what we talked about on Friday with this team. Running the football is so important to this team, but it doesn't mean that they have to come out and do it early. The Browns have used play action. Everybody that they get game plans against them knows what a threat by now, what Chubb and Hunt are. So you don't have to run the ball to establish that to make play action work in this offense. You can come out and make play action be part of your scripted 15 plays or whatever and still be successful. But I just think the score can't get lopsided to where you got to make up ground and you can't really run Chubb and Hunt the way you want to. And the other thing, Dave, I don't know, I'm sure advanced stats, somebody would tell me how good the Kansas City defense plays against screen plays, but I still think the screen is an underused play in this offense. And I think we saw a great screen call from Van Pelt last night. And I think that can be another thing that keeps this Kansas City defense really guessing.
Right. I think, again, in addition to, I think the Browns have to find a way to turn the ball over once or twice. And the other thing I will say is they can't let Tyreek Hill get behind him. Because
I'm glad you mentioned that.
That's like a sack for the defense, because that offense just feeds on big plays. If he gets going, it's hard to stop him.
Yeah, I would say the same thing about, the Kansas City occasionally will run an end around and give him a chance to run the ball from scrimmage. And those are the ones that, you got to limit your damage on those plays and just hope that, at halftime, they're sitting there within 3 to 7 to 10 points of the Chiefs. And I think they can still stay within the offense that they want to run if that's the case.
Yeah, I would agree. Give themselves a chance to do something late in the game and win the game. The other thing is that defensive line, they didn't necessarily sack Roethlisberger. You had a couple of deflected balls. Garrett was a problem. They need that again from Mahomes. Now, it's a different challenge because Mahomes will take off and run, whereas Ben wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, it's such a different thing for the defensive line. I mean, Stefanski, I know, was preaching to these guys that Roethlisberger's going to get rid of it so fast that we just got to get our hands up. When we're not going to get to him in a lot of cases, but if we get our hands up, and I think even to the extent of that one, the first interception he threw, They didn't get to him, but there was some pressure, and he had to try to throw the ball up in the air a little higher and misjudged where his receiver was, and they came away with an interception. So with Mahomes, that's not so much the issue, because he's gonna find an arm angle that gets the ball out of there without getting deflected. I don't know those stats either, but watching all those games that I have with him, I don't remember seeing many defenses have success in batting balls down at the line of scrimmage.
Bud Shaw, as always, we appreciate the time. Gonna take a quick time out. On the other side of break, we're gonna turn our attention to the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll head down to Miami and check in with Buckeyes beat reporter Stephen Means as the Buckeyes getting ready to play in the national championship game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. More sports and Les Levine will be right back. Stay with us as we start to talk Buckeyes.
We're living in uncertain times, but you don't have to put your future on hold. At Tri-C, you can move ahead while staying safe and saving money. The majority of fall classes will take place online, but we've added a variety of formats to meet your learning needs, and we've taken many steps to keep you safe on campus. Whether you're ready to get started or your four-year plans have changed, check out Tri-C's programs and resources, because Tri-C is where futures begin.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Brown's Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get text sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Welcome back to More Sports and Les Levine. Dave Bacon filling in for Les Levine tonight. Time to turn our attention from the Browns to the national championship game. The Ohio State Buckeyes down in Miami, Florida, getting ready to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. We welcome in Buckeyes beat reporter Stephen Means, who is in Miami, getting ready to cover the game. Stephen, appreciate the time. Everybody wants to know, give us an update on Justin Fields. How's he doing? Is he going to be good to go tonight?
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine tonight. When they got in 2 days ago, obviously they have plenty of activities for those guys to do. Social distance, obviously, but, I mean, he's playing ping pong, he's playing dodgeball, he's diving on the ground for loose ping pongs and dodgeball. I think he's fine. Now, granted, that's not taking a helmet to a rib, but I don't think he'd be moving like that if his ribs were any type of issue for him. So that's a non-factor at this point.
What do you see as important for the Buckeyes offensively when you look at this game? Obviously, Buckeyes an underdog, as anybody would be against Alabama, the #1 team in the country. Buckeyes were ranked 3rd. But what are some keys offensively for Ohio State?
Well, Justin Fields had 385 yards and 6 touchdowns the last time he put on a jersey. So that would be nice to do that again or some version of that. Trey Sermon continuing to run like this is 2014 and we're watching Ezekiel Elliott. That would be nice as well. Pretty much what I'm getting to is they need to score, and they need to score every single time they get the ball, regardless if they get it on their own 20 or if they get it on Alabama's 15. They need to continue to put up points because I've been saying it all year, Ohio State can win any game that's a shootout. Well, they proved that against Clemson. They continued to score, and they ended up with 49 points and a 49-28 win. They need to do that again. They just need to score because Alabama has just as much offensive power on their side.
When you look at Trey Sermon, what have you seen the last couple of weeks that Buckeye fans are smiling about? And you said you knew he had it in him. It's coming out at the right time of the year.
Yeah, like I said before, his trainer, whatever his trainer said to him, both publicly and privately, is apparently working. He's not dancing in a hole anymore. He's not being timid with his running. He's running violently, actually. And whatever it was, something clicked. And I think it had something to do with right before that Michigan State game where he had 100-plus yards in that game. But that game allowed him to kind of find the rhythm he didn't have the first half of the season. Now, it doesn't help that you're a transfer kid who comes in the middle of a pandemic. You don't get all the normal things that come with preparing for a college football season. But something has clicked. And at this point, a 200-yard rushing game is not crazy, which I think for most people to say he would have had 50 yards in a college football game would have been crazy if we'd have been saying this a month ago. But something's clicked, and it's clicking at the right time for Ohio State.
Well, you know Fields, you know Sermon, you know Olave. Who are some of the guys, the X factors, if you will, that if they have a good game tonight, it could be good things ahead for the Buckeyes offense?
Yeah, I think anybody who listens to Buckeye Talk knows Garrett Wilson is at the top of that list for me, man. And in the slot, we'll see what's going on with their slot corner for Alabama and if that's an issue. But they've had some trouble with guys playing in the slot, whether it's Kyle Pitts, who's more of a tight end, but they use him in the slot sometimes. Ole Miss took advantage of that with their slot receiver as well. Garrett Wilson is just as explosive as Chris Olave, maybe even more, because Chris Olave is a heck of a deep ball threat. But Garrett Wilson's a guy who can take a short pass and turn a 2-yard pass into 25 to 27 yards if needed. So that's the guy I'm watching. He hasn't really exploded since, I think, the Michigan State game. He got held in check in the Big Ten championship game because Chris Olave wasn't there to take at least some of the attention away from him so they could just scheme for him. And obviously, he had the 40-yard catch at the beginning of the Clemson game, but after that, he got kind of quiet. Justin Fields found every other receiver in the world wide open up elsewhere. I think this is the game where maybe he gets back to that 100-yard standard that he set for most of the season. And then also the tight ends. They got the tight ends involved against Clemson because Clemson's defensive scheme allowed that to happen. Does that happen again? And maybe we see Jeremy Ruckert reach the end zone once or twice.
How important is that offensive line? Have played very well against Clemson, but how important is that O-line tonight?
Biggest factor. I know we joke that Justin's going to be fine. He's very active, and the ribs aren't going to be an issue. But let's not test that theory. Let's keep him protected. Let's keep those sacks under 3 a game. I know they'll give up some because he likes to make plays, and sometimes that can lead to sack. But keep him upright as much as possible. But also, Trey Sermon is at his best when he gets to the second line. And one thing we saw in the Clemson game was his yards before contact were amazing. And that's all on the offensive line, getting him through the hole so he can be violent against secondaries and linebackers. So this is one of the best offensive lines in the country. We'll see what happens with Harry Miller, whether he's returned or not. But that doesn't necessarily seem to be an issue because of the 5 guys, he's the weakest link just because he's a sophomore. We saw Paris Johnson step in and show why he might be a guy who might be the future Orlando Pace here. Matthew Jones has been a quality backup at that left guard spot. But other than that, Wyatt Davis, Josh Myers, Thayer Munford, and Nicholas Petit-Frere, that offensive line is going to be huge for Ohio State tonight.
You've been around this team all year. How have they been down there in Miami? What you would expect? How would you characterize them as they're getting ready for the biggest game of the year, the national championship game?
Business as usual. All that emotion from finally getting that win over Clemson has worn off because they've had to change what their focus is. It's kind of just like 2014 where all that emotion after you beat Alabama in the semifinal, now you have to reset that to go beat Oregon. And we saw what happened against Oregon. And obviously, this Alabama team is better than what that Oregon team was in 2014. But it is more business as usual. It's, life at a bowl game in the middle of a pandemic where you can get some stuff together where they can have some team-building activities. But for the most part, the focus is on tonight.
What about Ryan Day? How has he been? He's pulled all the right strings, pushed all the right buttons, pretty much since the time he's been the head coach. How has he been this week?
Pretty solid. I think he's been pretty much Ryan Day. He doesn't answer injury questions, which is pretty normal. He gets into detail when you talk about offense. He kind of stays short when you talk about defense. When you talk about recruiting, he gets into it as well. But the best thing about this situation, and players and Coach Day has said it at times, the fact that, it's basically a week off is what they had to prepare for games at times. And so it's more of a flow. It's not a 30-day wait from a bowl game from the regular season. So it does kind of feel more like a regular season game flow. So they've been able to stick to their routines, which probably helps.
Stephen Means, Buckeye beat reporter, is down in Miami getting ready for the national championship game in a little bit over an hour from right now. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. When we come back, Stephen and I are going to flip sides of the ball. We'll talk Buckeyes defense. We'll also get Stephen's thoughts for how this game might unfold. Buckeyes going for a national championship. More sports and Les Levine. Will be right back. Stay with us.
Shelly, we really need to get Nature Stone in our basement.
I know, Herb, and it would look great in our laundry room, too.
Coach, only Nature Stone is perfect for your basement and laundry room because it never needs replaced like damp carpet and moldy tile. That's why it comes with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
And Nature Stone is absolutely beautiful and so easy to clean.
Schedule today at naturestone.com and get up to half your basement or laundry room floor free. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Shelly, Nature Stone is perfect for our laundry room and basement.
I told you.
It's not just a floor. Wow,
it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Welcome back to more sports and Les Levine. Dave Bacon filling in for Les Levine. Buckeyes getting ready to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. The winner will be the national football champion in college for 2020. We head back down to Miami, Florida. Buckeyes beat reporter Stephen Means will be covering that game for cleveland.com as well as the pages of the Plain Dealer. Stephen, flip sides of the ball. Alabama offense outstanding. What's the key for the Buckeyes defense tonight?
Limit big plays and pressure Mac Jones. Mac Jones has been sacked 11 times this year, and they've played 12 games. That's because if Ohio State has one of the best offensive lines in the country, well, Alabama has the best offensive line in the country. They've got the Outland Trophy winner at left tackle, and they've got the Remington winner at center, but he won't be playing tonight, so that's less of an issue. I think, obviously, there have been rumors about what defensive linemen will and won't be playing. Those main names being Tyreek Smith and Tommy Togiai. Tyreek Smith tweeted out today, "Let's go, it's game day," and Tommy Togiai quote tweeted it, basically reassuring that we don't know what that means, though. That means they could be at home getting ready to watch it. That could mean that they're here preparing to play the game as well. If those two are playing, along with getting Zach Harrison back, along with what Jonathan Cooper has done this year, and Haskell Garrett, I think Ohio State can try to get some pressure on Mac Jones and make him uncomfortable. And with that being said, limiting big plays starts with Devontae Smith, obviously the Heisman Trophy winner. You can't let him turn a 6 or 7 yard catch into a 60 or 70 yard touchdown. It has to be a catch, and you're not going to stop him. He's going to get catches. He's going to get yards, but you can't let that be the reason that you die tonight. And that starts with Shaun Wade, and it extends to Sevyn Banks and Marcus Williamson, and then the safeties, Lathan Ransom and Josh Proctor as well.
When you look at this, do you get the sense this might be the type of game where the defense that comes up with a couple key stops is the one that ends out coming on top?
Yeah, I picked a score of 55-50, and I know that's crazy high, 105 points in a a football game is ridiculous. That's almost a Big Ten basketball score. But the point I was trying to make is this is going to be a shootout, and it might come down to who gets a random turnover or who gets to put together 2 straight 3-and-outs that the other team takes advantage of and turns into 14 points themselves. That's neither one of these teams have elite level defenses. They have elite level offenses, which is what's going to win championships nowadays. The whole saying of defense wins championship, that's irrelevant. That doesn't make any sense anymore. Offensive players are too skilled, and that's across every sport. So what this comes down to is, you got to keep scoring. You can't settle for field goals in the red zone. You have to get touchdowns. And then whatever team, whether it's Josh Proctor who stops dropping interceptions, or maybe it's Patrick Surtain for Alabama, whichever team can come out and cause a turnover or get a couple of stops here or there is going to be the team who comes out on top.
You know, in talking to one of the Alabama beat reporters last week, he said that Mac Jones has not really been pressured at all, and that kind of goes along with what you've said. You know, the 11, 12 sacks, a sack a game is not a lot when you're playing that type of schedule. Do you think the Buckeyes, if they have everybody back, have the ability to make him move around? He hasn't had to move around a little bit from what we're being told.
Yeah, uncomfortability is not a quarterback's best friend. I don't think any quarterback wants to be uncomfortable when you have 260-pound, almost grown men coming at you trying to knock your head off. I think Mac Jones is a quality quarterback. He's probably going to be a first-round draft pick. But with that being said, Alabama is extremely talented. And if I told you, hey, all you have to do is sit back there, wait 1.5 seconds, allow your line to do its job, and you're going to either have a Heisman Trophy winner that's wide open, a slot receiver who's a top 20 pick who's wide open, or the best running back in the country as a check down. I'll take those odds most of the time because most guys aren't getting to him. So, yeah, if they can get pressure and every so often get home, just like they did with Trevor Lawrence, that's an elite quarterback. But they started getting home and they started pressuring Trevor Lawrence, and now he gets uncomfortable in the pocket. And now the offense is spiraling. If they can do a similar job to that, I'm not saying hold Alabama to 28 points, but if they can get to Mac Jones once or twice or maybe even 3 times and make him feel you, it changes the game because now he has to think about that before he's letting the ball go.
And you were alluding to it a little bit. Jalen Waddle is a guy that, coming into the year, everybody knew he was a big play threat. Broke his ankle. He's practicing. He may very well be good to go. How big of a problem is he for any defense, including Ohio State's?
Yeah, it's funny how many teams in the country can say that their Heisman Trophy winner is their 3rd best weapon on offense. That's Jalen Waddle. If he plays tonight, there's been no guarantee of that. I know he returned to practice. If he plays, that's a problem for Ohio State. That's another thing that you have to deal with. Just think of what teams have to deal with Ohio State having Garrett Wilson in the slot and Chris Olave outside. That's 200-yard receivers who have caused problems for defenses all year. Those two have done that, but they were doing it against SEC teams. And so if Jalen Waddle is back and Devontae Smith, the way he's playing, I do think it becomes more of a, once again, limit the big plays. Bend, don't break. Let them, let them get a couple jabs in, but don't let them two be the reason you die. You have to, it becomes more important to get pressure on Mac Jones because as great as those wide receivers are, the quarterback can't get the ball to him. It doesn't matter.
And again, Waddle practicing. They're not sure that he's going to play. That'll go right up till game time. He'll probably run around, see how he feels, and we'll see if he gets cleared. Come to this time when we discuss these things, how do you see this one playing out? What do you know the Buckeyes as well as anybody? What do you foresee here?
I picked the Buckeyes to win, like I said, 55-50. I think I'm one of maybe 7 people on this planet who picked Ohio State to win, but I picked them against Clemson and it worked out pretty well, so I'm going to stick with it. I just think that this Mac Jones is due for a game when he gets pressured. That every quarterback has that game where they can't figure it out, but the defense just keeps getting pressure. I think Kerry Combs has showed enough during the regular season, some different looks that they've kind of just thrown out there to see what they have. They've thrown some 3-3-5 looks out, some 4 linebacker stuff, some nickel stuff that they might all have to be used tonight. I think this is Kerry Combs' opportunity to show and kind of stamp himself as a great defensive coordinator at the college football level. But also, I just think an interception is going to come. I do think Josh Proctor has dropped one the last 2 games. He also had one in the Big Ten championship game. I think he's constantly in a position to make plays. And that was the big thing with him coming into the season is he's pretty much boom or bust. He'll have moments where he looks like Malik Hooker, but then he'll have times where he looks like we're not really sure what he's doing because he's taking banana angles and missing tackles, and Trevor Lawrence is running for 67 yards and a touchdown. I think this is the game where it kind of comes together, and that for Josh Proctor specifically, that's their single high safety. I often said he'll be the reason why this team either loses in a playoff or wins a national championship. I think this is the night where they pick off Mac Jones and maybe get to him a couple of times and maybe get a key stop in the third or fourth quarter where Ohio State is able to turn 14 points into those 2 possessions they get, while Alabama gets 0, and that's where they pull away.
Stephen Means, Buckeyes beat reporter, getting ready to cover the national championship game down in Miami, Florida. Thanks for the time, Stephen. Appreciate it. Sure, we will check back in with you as well. Thanks so much for the time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, there is Stephen Means down in Miami, Florida, where the Buckeyes will be taking on the Crimson Tide for the national championship game in a little bit over an hour. That'll do it for this edition of More Sports and Less Levine. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter, scheduled to be on. We'll also be talking about that national championship game, see if the Buckeyes can bring home a national championship tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. Stay safe. Have a great night, everyone.